The Bitcoin Group, the American original. For over the last 10 seconds, the sharpest Satoshis, the best Bitcoins, the hardest cryptocurrency talk. We'd like to welcome our panelists, Dan Eve, the Crypto Raptor.
Hey, happy Friday.
Adam McBride from Emblem Vault.
Ordinals.
Josh Agala from the Standard.io.
G'day, Cobber.
And I'm Thomas Hunt from the World Crypto Network. Moving on to Issue 1. Issue 1, Bitcoin lingers under $27,000 as we continue May sluggish amid inflation concerns. The price of Bitcoin and Ethereum both lost ground in May, the first monthly decline of 2023. Litecoin and whatever RNDR, we'll call it reindeer, were among the month's big gainers. Dan Eve, what do you think about the price of Bitcoin and cryptocurrency?
Well, I mean, it's really, when you look at it, it's not that much of a downer, right? Since the start of, in fact, isn't Bitcoin even up since since 2023? Oh, am I in the wrong chart or something? So I don't think things are that bad. It's $27,000 right now. It's up, percent, 1.36%. So price wise, things could be like a lot worse, right? We could be down at the 15, 16 level like we were in December. So we're nearly double that. Plus there's been actually kind of some optimistic reports, right? Like, was it Fidelity, some fund manager in Fidelity said that Bitcoin can be $1 billion by which sounds insane, by 2038. Yeah, it gives a nice bit of time for someone to forget about that price prediction, right? But if you do remember it and you call it, right, you can definitely slam dunk on that one if Bitcoin's $1 billion by 2038. Then there's also
we definitely should have put that in the title of the show.
Bro, if Bitcoin's $1 billion, the world's over, man. Let's hope it's not $1 billion.
We could literally buy the universe. Like,
it's one of those nightmares where
$1
million buys you a sandwich. So Bitcoin's $1 billion. It's a lot of sandwiches. Go ahead.
Yeah, but that's the point, right? That's the problem is inflation. If inflation keeps on going on, how much is that dollar going to be, devalued anyway? But how much is it going to be $1 billion worth in what, 25 years, however much it is? So yeah, it kind of goes up, it goes down. There's obviously the lingering stuff from the cases like FTX and the people still sort of banding all those news articles about even going back to the UST and the Terra thing. They keep on propping up as examples now of huge failures in the crypto industry. So I think actually the price right now is pretty resilient to be especially when you combine that with the continued enviro FUD that's happening and all sorts of crazy stuff around the world. Like, I think I read that. I'm sure I read something insane. Like Ireland is going to be like killing like 200 cows or 2,000 cows to meet climate targets. So there's. It sounds insane, doesn't it? Carl. Let me get the right number. But when you've got the environmental FUD, 200,000. It's just 200,000 cows. To meet climate goals. So, there's still going to be this continued assault on the mining operations, the net zero kind of policies that we're seeing. And so I think we can only expect that to really ramp up about the effects on Bitcoin mining and how Bitcoin is a bad thing. So yeah, I think 27K right now it's extremely resilient. And again, you go back to this was kind of roughly the level the end of 2020, right after the halving. It kind of reached this point here. So we're still, I think, in very good ground. I think ultimately things seem a bit kind of optimistic, and I think maybe that everyone was on a bit of a downer when the Fidelity guy was just like, boom, $1 billion. Like, everyone's saying $1 million by June, and he just goes out and goes $1 billion 2038. So it's a long time away. We've got a lot to look forward to then, a lot more infrastructure being built, a lot more services, and more exciting things as well. Like, I don't know if we'll touch it today, and I don't know much about it, and I should read more, but ARK, another kind of another layer 2 for Bitcoin. So there's all these things are being built. So whilst everyone's all neggy about the price, again, all this cool stuff keeps on happening in the background, and ordinals as well, who are kind of proving the model of the Bitcoin fee taking over, overtaking the block reward. So yes, there's lots of bombshell news happening every day. So Bitcoin's brilliance is its resilience.
I agree, Dan. I think it's far more negative than it should be, especially given FTX and, of course, the disaster in El Salvador where they bought below the price and, the price went down, they lost money, and maybe they hold on and it turns out all right. But I can tell you, this is the only story in the media this week. I Googled and I Googled and I Googled. Every article is about the price. It's all about the price, nothing about the technology, nothing about how it's a new data network, nothing how you can do remittances, nothing about layer 2 lightning or ordinals or stamps or any of the, even time stamping. Just, universal time stamping is pretty valuable for a lot of stuff. But Adam McBride, it's not about the technology, it's about the price. Can you tell me about?
It's crazy, right? It's crazy. Like, like you said, we were at 17,000 or something just a couple months ago. And it was end of the world. And, myself included, dummy didn't buy more, I just bought more the other day because I think, dude, it's like the halving's coming up, just follow patterns, whether it dips down. God, I was talking to my brother, I don't know, we were in the peak of the bull run and it's like, God, if it ever touches 20,000 again, how amazing would that be? It's like back the truck up. And of course, nobody does because you all get scared when it's falling knife, But yeah, you got to love the place that Bitcoin is right now. Development is coming back on Bitcoin. Who would have predicted that? It's completely insane and awesome. So I'm super bullish Bitcoin right now.
Well, and the hardest strategy is that detached strategy where you're dollar cost averaging, you're buying $100 a week, you never mess with it. When you're at the highs, you buy 100. When you're at the lows, you buy 100. And I know my friends, like when I told them about dollar cost averaging, they immediately do the opposite. When it's at the highs, they're still buying because they're like, I got to get that lottery ticket. I got to get in the lottery. It's at the lows and they're like, I don't know about Bitcoin. My $100 from last week is worth 80 and my other 100's worth 60. And it's these thoughts that lead you to not stack any sats at the bottom. And then when you're at the top, that's when you're selling so it's just, you got to get on the right track, people. And it's so hard to see it do these things and to think, oh, predictably, it's going to come back. Predictably, it's going to come back. But I've seen it come back 2 or 3 times now. So I really have to believe that this halving thing's going to work and the price is going to come back and go higher, which is insane. But I don't know about $1 billion. Josh Shigala, $1 billion a Bitcoin. Obviously, you sell one for that price, maybe.
I mean, Adam said it. If that happens, we've got big problems, and it's not a good day. But yeah, the dollar cost averaging thing is really important. And all of these people that get wrecked from crypto and Bitcoin, and then they blame Bitcoin. Well, I blame the media for only really focusing on the price when it's sky high. When the price is low, you don't see the ticker symbols. They don't talk about it. They don't mention it. As soon as it's high, they're all raving. Mad money's on it. Buy. And then it collapses. Everyone loses their shirts, and it's down the drain. So it's just important when it's down, when you're not hearing much about it. Not investment advice, but that's how you actually invest. Is you find good deals. You don't go for the thing that everyone's buying right now. You go for like, And plus also, if you're in this space because you heard a couple of guys make a killing and become super rich from it, and so that's why you're investing, well, you're investing wrong. If you're in it because you've looked at the technology, you've realized the problem that it's solving or the problems that it's solving, and one of those problems it fits into your investment thesis, then it's not like it's going to shift because the price is down. In fact, it's the other way. You're like, wow, okay, well, my investment thesis is there's a problem. Bitcoin fixes it. Yep, I got to buy more because right now it's a good deal. That's the thing. It's these people that are jumping in because they made a lot of money. that don't really understand the technology. Well, they shouldn't probably be in this space because they'll lose their shirts. But yeah.
Moving on to the exit question, predicting against the source of all truth in Bitcoin predictions, the Bitcoin predictor ball. Dan Eve, will the price of Bitcoin be higher or lower this time next week?
I'm just going to add one small thing to add because I don't check it very often. In fact, I seem to just check it once a week. But going back on ignoring the price thing, the average hash rate over the last 24 hours is 392.18 exahashes, which is within spitting distance of all-time high. So that the network is there, it's growing, it's solid, and Bitcoin difficulty is literally right now at all-time high at 51.234 trillion. So whilst it goes up, it goes down again. We see this day in, day out. The infrastructure keeps on being built, hardware and software, to keep the machine running and keep the lights on and keep it as the most secure network on earth. And I'm going to say up.
Adam McBride, higher or lower? Dan says
down, definitely down. I have no idea, man. But down seems reasonable. You go up, you go down, and then up again.
That's exactly, you must be some kind of financial expert.
I did work on Wall Street.
Where did you get this incredible advice? Josh Shigala, is it going higher or lower? And of course, the best answer is to say both.
Yeah, well, it's absolutely doing both. No, I do believe it'll go higher purely fundamentally because we have Hong Kong now coming back online after their regulators decided it's okay for people to invest in mathematics again. So we'll see.
Oh, it's excellent. They've legalized math. Now, here we go. Will the price be higher this time next week? It is. Outlook, not so good. Outlook, not so good. So the ball is pessimistic. Moving on to issue 2. Voltage scales Bitcoin and Lightning Network infrastructure with Google Cloud. A new company called Voltage is letting you set up Lightning as a service. Its mission is to provide enterprises with a Lightning Network solution that enables the settlement of real-time payments with near zero fees. It seems kind of like a Coinbase for the Lightning Network. Of course, Coinbase could have been this itself years ago if they'd only followed Bitcoin instead of trying to be Coinbase for everybody. An added bonus, Google and Google Cloud is involved, and Google is proudly working with Bitcoin and the Lightning Network, giving up years of Google saying it's drug money, it's gangster money, it's money. Adam McBride, what do you think about Google Cloud and Voltage allowing people to use the Lightning Network better?
I think anything that provides alternatives to PayPal, Stripe, and the like is a good thing. I don't know if you guys have ever bumped into it. I'm assuming you probably have. I definitely have, about having your money frozen by PayPal. I've known businesses at Rex. I was actually tweeting with kind of a semi-famous person on Twitter this past week because one of her, she owns tons of companies, and one of her little small companies basically was going to be going out of business because, PayPal had frozen the accounts. And so, anything that gets the average or small business owner different options for accepting payments that are outside of this kind of like, big business, fiefdom is a good thing. I'm all for it, man. We need it. It's like badly needed at this point because you can get debanked. And the way it is, you guys run businesses yourselves. You're debanked for 2 weeks, you're done. That's it for your business. And it's real risk out there. And it's legit, happens all the time now in mainstream. And so, yeah, we need alternative payment methods.
I agree. I think we've all had our PayPal accounts frozen before, or even had transactions reversed, causing you to lose money and lose products. It is good to see people other than bankers getting in on Bitcoin. The early Bitcoin companies were all this way, but now not so much. So you have to appreciate perhaps Voltage and certainly something like Strike, Jack Mallers' great little company that lets you use Lightning and Bitcoin. They recently expanded to something like 162 countries and it's not the big famous countries you'd think it was. It strikes working at a lot of the smaller African and developing countries. So it's a really interesting product and direction for them. Josh Agala, what do you think about Voltage and Google Cloud now suddenly friends with Bitcoin?
Yeah, I mean, it's nice to see you know, an actual article on google.com, cloud.google.com, talking about Bitcoin. But I'm never a big fan of these huge backbone infrastructures of the internet because they're very centralizing. They're one of the main reasons the entire internet can be absolutely controlled over whatever narrative they decide is the narrative that should be pushed, because it's effectively Azure, Google Cloud, and Amazon. They're the ones that run the world. It's three major players, and so I don't want to see Bitcoin rely on Google's infrastructure. The beautiful thing about having 1 meg blocks is that anyone can run them because it's quite cheap. So I'm not sure how this fits in. I'm guessing it's like a one-click option and you can do it. I wish them all the best. You know, I don't think it's a bad thing, but I just really like the idea of running your own node, having it run on your system, on your network, and decentralizing as much as possible. Because imagine if everything started running on the Google Cloud and then all of a sudden Google decides it's not good anymore and just switches it off, or the American government or whatever. So it's yeah, that's I don't know too much about their service to really make any sort of judgments on their service. So I don't want to say that, but I just, in terms of just my gut feeling, yeah.
I agree, Josh. It does seem like an intermediary step where if like a large company like Nike was going to start accepting Bitcoin, they could roll up a bunch of Lightning servers with this product. And then if Google Cloud fails, or if they want to, you know, get involved and run their own servers, they still could. But it seems like an easy way for a company to get into Lightning and give it a try. But again, I don't know. This is just a press release, and I'm excited. It's on google.com as well. Dan, Eve, what do you think about Google and Google Cloud? They love the Lightning Network now. Get the bumper stickers ready.
It is pretty cool, right? You can spin up Lightning node, etc., which you can also do with lmbits.com, right? So that's I think I definitely would recommend that over Voltage. Although Voltage seems like a good service, but obviously I'm biased because I like lmbits and the work Ben's doing. But yeah, I'm with you on the fact that again, it's I mean, obviously, it's not like Google that are kind of putting their seal of approval on it. They're just using Google services, right? So it's not quite the level of but it is being covered by cloud.google.com. You know, they're obviously excited about this as a service. So ultimately, the thing that Bitcoin does bring is sort of the benefit of it is the decentralization. So I'm also in agreement with you there that using these centralized services kind of takes that element away, right? And it's almost an additional attack vector. As you know, I'm sure they've got lots of processes and controls to avoid any internal sabotage and external threats, but if you have a bunch of services that are using a specific infrastructure, then there is a central point of failure there, even though they may have their own backups. So maybe I'm kind of too much still in the mindset of the home tinkering, run your own node, with my non-nodal boxes and the fact that you can just buy pretty much any like small bit of hardware now that can run. Can spin up a little Linux OS and run your own node. So it's good that it's Google and it's a big company that's facilitating this, and they're like you said, it's on cloud.google. But yeah, I'm a home tinkering guy. So get your little old machines out and spin your own node up and show them who's boss.
Well, I think to everyone's horror, we'll have to use that as the exit question. Who will win, giant companies like Microsoft and Google Cloud, or smaller companies like Umbrel, Lightning Bits, and Raspberry Blitz? Adam McBride, will it be the tinkerers or the giant companies?
Well, companies have won in the past, right? I mean, if you look in the past, it's companies, but you know, I'm an individual believer in the individual, and I believe at the end of the day, in crypto, people are gonna see what's happening in the world today, see what's happening with big businesses like Josh was touching on, and actually make the choice to go the opposite way for their own best interest, simply because it is the best interest choice. I think, you know, I know you guys kind of chuckle a little bit at NFTs and stuff, but the ability to own a digital collectible or a digital item, and you actually own it, and it isn't owned by Google or Amazon or one of these other companies that can take it away. I think kids are going to get it. I think the kids who are playing video games now get it, because they all have friends who've been, you know, rugged out of their Fortnite accounts and stuff like that. They get it. And I think it's just going to take some understanding, some education, and some wins by companies, you know, created by people like you and me, who actually make these products that people want and want to own their own digital items. And so I think at the end of the day, individuals are going to win. That's my hope and my prayer.
It is an interesting idea if you're into digital collectibles and you really want to support the network, you want it to keep going, and you put a Bitcoin node on your desk. I wish it was as easy to add an Ethereum node. For a long time, they had a kind of impossible syncing problem, and then you just need more hardware and whatever. Whereas, you know, like I have a Bitcoin node running here on my desk, and I don't really know what it's doing or what it does. I got pretty much past the setup part and then abandoned it. But I think that it still runs, right? It still gets on there, and I can see the blinky lights. And I hope that the kids will do that, like Adam's saying, like behind all the gaming PCs, a couple little Raspberry Pis running the Bitcoin network. If that's where their NFTs are, if that is where we go. As again, with Ethereum, it would be fun if I could run a node, but I'm not sure that I can. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Do you know anybody who's running an Ethereum node?
Not quite as plug and play as the Bitcoin idea. Yeah. So we'll have to see how that goes, which is unfortunate, because I should run a node, support my curio cards, you know. Dan, Eve, what do you think about, let's see, we're going to Josh Shigala on the exit question. Will it be the giant companies or the tinkerers?
Oh, well, I mean, this is actually what Google released about AI, is to say we have no chance against the tinkerers, basically. It's the open source communities are just taking these leaked models that leaked from Facebook and just smashing it out the park, making it orders of magnitude cheaper to train these models, making it, and just thousands of brains around the world just going towards one goal, and that's making something free and open source. And that's the same for Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. I think there's always a really nice polished product from big companies, but at the end of the day, the tinkerer comes along and makes one just the same with duct tape and a paperclip. So I think free and open source will win out over it, even though large companies do have a more polished product to start with.
Dan, Eve, I'm shocked. I'm shocked to find positivity out there. Pandora, when she closed the jar, she kept hope inside. What do you think, Dan? Is it going to be the tinkerers? Is it going to be the giant companies? I was all like getting my Microsoft Bitcoin node ready here.
I'm with Josh. I think the tinkerers will win out, right? The big companies have obviously got the firepower and the infrastructure and all this kind of expertise. But if you think about it, resources and if you think about it, I hate to might offend a few people boiling it down this way, but Satoshi was a tinkerer, right? He basically threw a little ball up in the air of like this sound money system, and we can see how powerful that's been. And it doesn't belong to a particular company. It doesn't belong to an organization. It's itself. It's free and open source and permissionless, and anyone can contribute to it. And I think that's far more powerful than something that can, that has a corporate structure to it. because it's essentially borderless, limitless, and you can bet your bottom dollar that people from Google, from Microsoft, from Azure, they're running their own Bitcoin nodes. There are going to be people in there that in these companies who are tinkerers as well, and who want Bitcoin to survive and to win. So yeah, I'm all for the tinkerers, the underdogs, and the node runners, as it were.
Interesting. We have no resume for Satoshi. We have no history. We don't know anything about his, her, or they, or them's past. And yet at the same time, everyone's using their software. Everyone's valuing Bitcoin as a valuable thing. People are adding things onto it, creating new ways to use it, maybe not originally designed to do that. All of this on a person with no resume, all of this on an untrusted unknown. So if you're out there and you're just some kid programming and you're like, they don't take me seriously because I'm 12 or because I'm 18 or because I live in India or wherever you live in the world, I don't think so anymore. It's all about what you can do. I mean, there's been, frauds, and there's been shows and other things, and maybe some people are real and some people are geniuses and they're not. But if you put your work out there on the internet, it'll be pretty much taken seriously. It seems like it doesn't matter where it comes from. Let's move on to the next issue. Check out worldcryptonetwork.com, where this day in 2020, we welcomed you to the Transylvania Bitcoin Conference, as well as showed you a dramatic film from the 1930s that may have predicted the rise of fascism in America. In 1919, we went to CoinFest in Manchester, interviewed people about their first computers, and took a Bitcoin coffee break with Ben Ark. In 2017, we had the Bitcoin Group 144 talking about the market-based soft fork and ICOs. Chris DeRose checked in with Mad Bitcoins to see if ICOs were legal back in 2017. And in 2016, we had Bitcoin and altcoin trading talk number 30. 2014, Patrick Merck Unfiltered. OKCoin was on Mad Bitcoins. And in 2013, we had a fireside chat on Bitcoin evangelism, where I talked like FDR for 6 minutes. So check out worldcryptonetwork.com. It's all free. It's ad-free. It's free. Moving on to issue 3, Richard Hart and Pulsechain. Yes, he's back again, our old friend. He's been on the World Crypto Network several times. Richard Hart, the creator of Hex, a strange system where people locked up their money into deposits to then get more money later. I'm not sure how it turned out, has now created a new system called Pulsechain and PulseX DEX. Apparently, Pulsechain is synonymous with Ethereum, while PulseX DEX is synonymous with Uniswap. As the article says, the two form together to create a bizarro crypto world where Richard Hart is akin to Satoshi Nakamoto, despite apparently showing his backside publicly and showing off tracksuits, gold chains, cars, and twerking. He has vulgar displays of wealth, and now they say that the project's in trouble because they actually released software, which the article suggests that scammers perhaps not do. Josh Shigala, what do you think of Richard Hart, Hex, Pulsechain, and now PulseX DEX, and all of the fun?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just never a fan of people flaunting wealth. It's just icks me. I don't know, having baubles around you, oh, look at my baubles, they're so shiny. It's just ugh. Anyway, it goes back to the old 2 weeks TM thing. In Bitcoin, it's been like that forever. 2 weeks TM. When is it ready? It takes a long time to write good software in the crypto space, especially if you don't want to get hacked. If you're writing smart contracts that are holding a lot of value, you've got to check again. You can't rush this stuff out. You can't move fast and break stuff. You have to be careful. So, I mean, I don't know. I find the whole Hex thing weird. It's never really interested me. It's the whole Pulsechain thing. It just seems like an extraordinarily clever marketing team that manages to get a lot of content creators to create content I'm not sure how they do it. It wonders me somehow. Like, how do they get so many people? The same with like, Andrew Tate, for instance, gets kicked off, banned everywhere, but manages to get thousands of people all creating content on his behalf. It's amazing. I think Richard Hart uses a similar technique. I'm not sure how, but yeah, just, this is when you're looking for projects to support in this space, it's important to look at what they're actually doing, and not just because you're hearing a lot of voices talking about it. It is pretty irresistible though when a lot of voices are talking about it, because you just then think, well, it's going to go up in price because a lot of people are talking about it. But in this day and age, especially with ChatGPT and these AI bots that have passed the Turing test, you can deploy thousands and thousands of agents to look really realistic, and give it that sense of, wow, this is going to really go off. There's so much talk and chatter about it. I'm not sure if that was the case. I'm not saying it is, but it could be. And so, yeah, just be careful out there, folks. And this isn't just Hex or that. It's for any project. It's really important to get into the community and talk and see how real these people are. Maybe, but yeah, the whole constant display of ridiculous, silly, tasteless baubles is disgusting.
Well, it has been interesting, Josh, to see the kind of the flaunting of wealth, how people have reacted to it over time. Because you remember when he was on early World Crypto Network shows, he had the cabinet of crystals behind him, and he had the candelabras, and he always kind of, I don't know, dressed like Hugh Hefner kind of thing. And it was a very big act from the beginning, and I never found that act convincing as like, I want to invest in Richard's projects. It always seemed to me more like when you go to the casinos and you're like, wow, this is a beautiful casino. They must be losing so much money. They must be giving away so many jackpots. I mean, the people at blackjack are really good, and the casino must suck, right? All these lights and the carpets and the glamour, and whether it's, Richard's jewelry or his tracksuits or whatever, it's like, I never saw it as a reason to invest. And then, of course, historically, and again, according to the internet, allegedly, and so forth, he's Richard Schuler, the spam king. And I find it's kind of disappointing that CoinDesk doesn't mention this. No disrespect to, his past and so forth, but a little line kind of saying he made a lot of money spamming people would maybe let people know, like, if you want to invest or not. And again, maybe you see that as a positive. You're like, he's good at email. He's good at marketing it. And certainly he is. So Dan, Eve, what do you think about Pulsechain, Pulse Dex X, and all the latest from Richard Hart?
Well, it sounds like there's definitely a lot of launch drama, right? So there's millions lost in fees from Pulse Dex to Pulse X Dex. Oh gosh, so it's little tongue twisters, isn't it? And also, if you go to scan.pulsechain.com, I mean, it just says like, there's a problem loading your chart. Something went wrong. Click to reload. Something went wrong. Click to retry. It seems like a bit of a whop whop whop. But I'm not going to lie. I think he managed to pull it off kind of and have a pump with Hex. He's the sort of person that, as you said, he's the marketing sort of force behind him, and he has this very what's the word, militant army of content creators, but not just that, but these, it's a shill army, right? Like equivalent to the 2017 XRP shill army. And it doesn't matter if you've got something that's of substance or not. If you have a crazy shill or you're a giant long-running ICO like XRP, if you've got a shill army behind you, you'll make it go somewhere. And then that's obviously pretty visible with that latest Pepe, right? The Pepe that's been Coinbase listed and all sorts, that literally says on the website, this has no utility. This does nothing. There is no financial gain. Like, you are buying literally a joke, and it hit a $1 billion market cap. So regardless of whether it's got utility or not, it's the army behind it that kind of pushes it. So it's going to be sad when obviously it pumps and crashes. I do think it's probably going to pump because Richard Hart, he has got this militant crazy following, that, almost to the same level as Craig Wright still has. These people, 1 million followers, 1 million, 2 million, 3 million. It's just a shill army, right? Like that sort of, that they're blind to the evidence about the Satoshi claims, and so maybe he does actually deliver something that's the equivalent of Ethereum, but well, not maybe to that level, but as in he delivers something that has some form of utility. But at the moment, there's issues with like the block explorer. Now, if you go on it, there's also general kind of migration issues. It looks like indexing of Pulsechain fork data, and I read about the stable coins that are like some of the Ethereum data has been cloned onto Pulsechain as well, but the stable coins exist but don't exist because obviously they're not supported because they're not backed. Whether or not you believe the stable coins are backed or anyway. So there's all these kind of weird oddities with Pulsechain. And this will happen, over and over again with all these different projects that kind of pop up and say they're going to replace Ethereum or be better than Ethereum. But didn't I also read that one of the reasons it was made was for cheaper transactions, but when it went live, it'd be cheap, and then obviously what happened? It went expensive. As they all it all seems to happen. So whether they manage to unclog this toilet, they've got Dynarod working on it right now, and they're pushing that poop through. And they managed to unclog the chain, as it were. I don't know, but ultimately,
you send pulses. You send pulses to really unclog it. You have to pulse chain it with the plunger. You have to really send pulses of energy.
The pulse plunger device.
It's unclogged. It's unclogged, guys.
Adam McBride, you're new to crypto. I mean, Richard's got a cool hat. He's got sweet jewels. He was pretty buff the last time I saw his show. Are you buying this? Are you getting some Pulsechain on the early sale or something here?
Josh really touched on it. He's really he's a genius marketer at the end of the day, and he knows exactly who he's talking to. He's talking to 20-something, guys who or younger who are attracted and believe that people flaunting their wealth like that. I mean, let's be honest. How much wealth does he really have? Who knows? It doesn't even matter. The show he's putting on is very attractive to young men, and young men who will buy in, and buy in might be $500, right? But when you're 18 and you spend your life savings on Pulsecoin or whatever the heck it is, and what do these people do? These kids are the people who then create the content around his own content and rebroadcast his content. So he builds his army in this way, and it's hat tip. It's really smart. If I were going to start some crap chain, it's the way I'd do it. Because you get the people who are familiar and on social media to basically become your marketing arm for not much money each person, and it's quite genius. And it's funny how, like, on crypto Twitter, I receive almost no information about him. So it's interesting how we're siloed within, our own social medias, because I don't even hear about the guy hardly ever. But I'm sure there's whole silos of Twitter that are just full of Richard Hart, So, but anyway, you got to give it to him. But obviously, I'm just going to build a quicker, faster Ethereum. I mean, that dog don't hunt. We've heard that story before.
As the lady said, they call it fast coin because it's fast. But yes, I'm reminded of a similar grifter who's taking small donations, and if you can get 1 million people to give you $10, that's $10 million. That's a lot of money. So shout out to all Richard's fans in the comment section. Not sure if you're in the chat yet, but we appreciate all of the spam that we're going to get for talking about this issue. So moving on to issue 4. Sam Bankman-Fried sets the stage to blame FTX's massive fraud on a law firm's advice. And I can't wait to get more into this. I can't wait till they tell us what's actually happening. But so far, from what we can tell from the article, SBF is claiming that the law firm told him to use an encrypted messaging device, which is probably true. But they probably didn't tell him to have the messages disappear. I'm sure they didn't tell him to make decisions on loans via emoji, like a smiley face means grant the loan and a frowny face means don't grant the loan. But it's a great idea. blamed the law firm, and now his group is suing their former law firm, attempting to get their notes and so forth so that they can prove that the law firm told us it was okay. Like the law firm told us it was okay to allegedly commingle customers' funds, which SBF admitted himself in an online interview during his crazy days. Dan, Eve, what do you think about the excitement of SBF blaming his law firm, saying it was all legal?
Well, I mean, I didn't think of this one coming, actually, right? Like he obviously would have taken legal advice. So it seems like the perfect scapegoat, especially if he's got evidence that there's the sort of the legal team had recommended certain things or like lied on his behalf. I mean, if they lied on his behalf and he knew about it, then he's still kind of liable there, right? Surely that he's in cahoots with them, or could have changed the direction and been honest about it. But it sounds like he's kind of clutching at straws, and he will obviously try anyone he can to blame, apart from shouldering the blame himself for the crazy operation that was FTX. Didn't also one of the legal guys from his own team defected to or not defected, but went across to the other. I think was it the other? I didn't read it probably. The other legal team that was trying to sort out FTX. So I don't. It seems like the person he's trying to pin it on has also tried to worm their way in to kind of start building their own defense. Friedberg, that's the term, Friedberg, so the former chief regulatory officer. So it's definitely the kind of gift that keeps on giving. This is going to go for a long while, right? I don't know how long this trial is going to be on for, but again, it will be used as this stick to beat Bitcoin with, even though it's a separate company that's run by a person that's not open source, or sorry, it might be open source, but at the end of the day, it's certainly not an open and transparent company with all the crazy stuff they did. So it's going to drag on for a while. It will be the stick that Bitcoin gets beaten with, especially when he actually gets some prison time, which I really doubt he's not going to get prison time, especially when, like you pointed out, he literally admitted they commingled customers' funds. So in that interview, I don't recall him saying my legal team suggested I do that. So that's you're admitting responsibility there. That's a big thing. Yeah, it's not looking good for anyone involved in that whole fiasco, really. And even as much as they're trying to paint Caroline as the kind of innocent girl that was swept away by the hunk that is Sam Bankman-Fried, I don't think she's going to come out
blinded in the face of beauty
either. Yeah. I don't know if she'll do time or anything like that. It maybe the case that her and the other co-founder, or the Alameda, that end up coming out, doing the whole what's it called, grassing, and then sort of getting off the hook, and then probably end up becoming quite successful, because then they can use that popularity of escaping the clutches of the law to then build their own business, which ends up being quite successful because they can ride off the back of the marketing and the fiasco that is FTX. So yeah, it's kind of the gift that keeps on giving in a sad way, right? It's interesting. It's interesting to read and how muddled it is, and how it's just an entire cluster, a cluster ding dong, as it were. I won't say the F-bomb. But it's also sad for all the people that lost out on money. I think there's still people also clutching to straws with the FTX investment in OpenAI, right? The fact that aren't there a bunch of shares? So they did make some pretty sound investments. Whether that money goes back to the holders, the token holders, or something like that, I don't know. But there's definitely there's a lot of copium and hopium going on with some of the actual successful investments that were made.
I also think they were able to claw back a significant amount of Bitcoin recently for the FTX creditors and so forth. But as you guys were saying, is this the face that launched 1,000 ships and burned the topless towers of Ilium? We also have a report from Sam's defense team. They say, it wasn't me, it was the one-armed man. Adam McBride, what do you think of these incredible new developments?
I mean, look, smart, rich guys with money have great defense teams, right? I mean, we all know this he's going to do some time. It's going to be soft time. maybe a couple years in some like minimum security prison. He's gonna, he's gonna be out by the time he's 40, and that's just the way it is. And we're all gonna have to, eat anger, and that's it. The bad guys don't really end up paying. It's just kind of a bummer. But you think about it's so hilarious. Like, oh, well, I was told to do that. And I'm reminded, I think it was our friend Jesse Powell said, like, at some point where SBF was getting arrested, he's like, understand, like, FTX had like, I think it was like 20 employees. He's like, I have 20 employees just in like one section of one fraud department. To think they were running their entire show with 20 employees is like, come on. Like, and this is the thing, it's completely obvious to everybody on earth, but the reality is that our legal system is what it is, and he's going to do very little time, and there's really nothing we can do about it.
Well, many fine books have been written in prison, so we'll just have to see how Sam's turns out. Josh Shigala, what do you think about all of the SBF defenses? There are more every day.
Well, normally sharks don't attack lawyers just out of professional courtesy, but it seems to me that now they are. Sam is attacking his lawyers. I think it's a standard thing to do. I'm pretty sure Bernie Madoff tried to do the same. I'm not sure. Actually, watching the Bernie Madoff documentary on Netflix at the moment. But yeah, look, of course he needs to palm the blame off somewhere. Let's see what happens. I think it'll be a really interesting. It'll be a really interesting next few years with this case, because it really exposes politics. It exposes the SEC. It exposes a whole lot of other things apart from just Sam. And yeah, I think they need to be exposed for the fallible human issues that he exposed. And the thing is, this is really what Bitcoin tried to solve what Satoshi tried to solve with Bitcoin is, hey, we do it with code. Code is law. Code is what is the regulation. That's the rule set. And the more that we try to just have humans coming in and putting blocks in place and rule sets, the more you just pay off the toll bridge person to get through, and corruption flourishes. So yeah, it's time for these court cases to hopefully expose it. I don't have massive hopes for it.
Seems very unlikely, right? I mean, it's like you would think that this would be like, oh, this actually highlights how poor. I mean, what this probably is going to end up doing is more regulation, right? This will be like the talking point at the end of the day would be like, oh, well, the problem was the SEC didn't have enough funds. It's like the most ridiculous stuff on earth, but that's where we are,
Yep. Absolutely. And I mean, even I'm not 100% sure on this, so maybe I shouldn't say it, but I think Madoff was also almost going to be heading up the SEC at one stage.
He did. Absolutely. Yeah.
Right.
Not the SEC, but the trading, like, the governance board on the traders. He was like the head of that.
Right. Yeah. So all of these regulators are basically just moats for the legacy systems to be able to control any competition coming in, because to try to keep up with the amount of regulatory overhead, you just can't as a startup. So it's generally what happens, this regulatory capture shit. But yeah, let's see what happens to Sam.
It's interesting, Josh, you're watching the Madoff documentary. I just started watching the Theranos miniseries on Hulu. And it's so interesting. I think people want to know why she became a scammer. And you're watching the early scenes, and she's such an overachiever, and she's obsessed with Steve Jobs and successful people. But at the end of the day, she would settle for fraud. Like the success, getting the $1 billion, it's not about like, Steve and Woz made all these computers, changed everybody's life. They were all over my elementary school, right? It's about, if I can fake it with this blood device, I can get the $1 billion. And Sam in the same way. And maybe as people have tried to kind of make this a larger critique of, gosh, what's it called? Effective altruism, where make the money to do the good becomes really questionable if you have to do horrible things to make the money to then someday do the good. And, you know, even in our society, even starting about Rockefeller, Carnegie, you know, Gates, Buffett, whoever you want to say, Bezos, that sure, they give away the money in their old age. But if you look at the youth, they're screwing over this company and this working man and that company and all that. So it is interesting to see that the ends justify the means. And,
they don't even give it away though. That's also a facade. They use it as a tax dodge.
that is
Ooh, this would be. Are we going to go down this rabbit hole? Because it's a fun one.
we also, Josh reminded me of the great and classic joke, which of course I'm forced by law to repeat. What's the difference between a lawyer and a hooker? A hooker will stop fucking you when you're dead. Oh, let's move on to the next issue where we're in more trouble for politics. That's right. Biden will end up killing it. A serious crypto warning that could spell chaos for the price of Bitcoin and Ethereum as the debt ceiling deal reached, according to Forbes magazine. Of course, the serious warning comes from Biden's opponent, who's from the other party and is making dramatic claims about his opponent. DeSantis is an anti-gay, book-burning fascist, but we should take him seriously, elevate his claims, when in reality what the Biden administration seems to be proposing is more regulation that will keep your bank account hooked up to Bitcoin, keeping us in this golden age where you can easily buy and sell Bitcoin with your bank account. The question is, why are Bitcoiners always so draconian? Why do they believe everything, even when it's clear that the source, in this case, a politician from the opponent's party, might have ulterior motives, might have a reason to say what he's saying, trying to generate this fear? Dan, Eve, are you afraid of what the opponent of the political party is going to do?
I mean, I'm not too polished on politics, but in the US, I get tidbits of it. But I mean, it does seem like you know that there is a bit of a war on Bitcoin and crypto right now. I mean, even you know, the in terms of regulation, even, you know, Biden specifically mentioned it in the debt ceiling thing, right, saying that it wouldn't agree on a debt ceiling that benefited crypto traders. So I think, again, it's going on this old assumption that people who trade Bitcoin and cryptocurrency never pay their taxes, and they're all evil people who probably, you know, he didn't go that level, but he's obviously insinuating that basically crypto traders don't, they're tax cheats, right? Tax cheats and crypto traders. So there is an element of assumptions there. I mean, I don't know much about DeSantis, but that seems quite reasonable. We see this kind of assault that's going on. There is also obviously the ongoing thing of the SEC being unable to decide whether Ethereum is a security and having their hand forced by Coinbase. And I haven't kept up on that, but didn't they have a 2-week deadline to make a decision on whether it's a security or not? I think there's also, you know, based on the current government, that as in, you know, the tit for tat, that obviously they don't really like Elon Musk very much, and there's that other news that's come out that the legal team now is representing Dogecoin, and they want that classed as a security. Dogecoin's a security, god damn it. It's not money, it's a security, it's not a meme. And so they're now trying to sue Elon Musk. So based on the other actions and the fact that the government probably isn't too happy with Elon Musk, because he's quite outspoken with current kind of policies, it wouldn't be surprise me if they got behind this Dogecoin deal and actually said it's a security, and that maybe even become a cascade of, well, we've now ruled on this, we kind of need to do it because we can't let Elon Musk get off the hook. Therefore, now we've rolled out and said that Dogecoin is a security that becomes a gold standard, right? The test case, as it were. There could be a plethora of other coins then following suit, right, and saying, "Hey, I don't like the idea of this influencer or someone in particular who's pumping a coin. We want it classed as a security because we as meme coin holders need to be protected." That sort of thing, which is all what's so funny about this is just imagine I mean I was playing with Doge Rain and stuff like in 2013 2014. It was all like a massive joke back then, and just to think now, you forget about how big Bitcoin is, and how solid Bitcoin is, and all the hassle it's causing worldwide of these panicking central banks and being adopted by El Salvador. Just think about, like, if you'd have said in 10 years ago in when Dogecoin came out that Elon Musk is going to be pumping it as part of and accepting it for Tesla. We're living in a crazy world right now. And ultimately there is a bit of a stigma still attached to Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, that it's tax evasion, it's for fraud. There was that recent report from the UK Treasury that pretty much literally said, "Oh, it's just used by criminals and drug addicts and crazy people and blah blah blah." So we are still seeing that we're definitely not out of the woods when it comes to these kind of insanely kind of not really well backed claims, actually. And there's lots of good research that's come out that speaks to the contrary to that. So it's very much a coin flip at the moment. My biggest concern is kind of is that Bitcoin does end up becoming, Bitcoin is meant to be bipolitical, right? It's meant to be, it's like free open source. It's something that anyone from any political party can like, whether you're a Democrat, whether you're a Republican, whether you're a Green Party, whether you're independent, etc. And the danger now that we have is that it becomes a politicized thing, so that all the Democrats that would have maybe liked Bitcoin now hate it because Ron DeSantis is for it. So therefore, I must hate it because Ron DeSantis is for it. Therefore, I must not like it. So I think it's sad when, to a certain extent, when some of these people that are in controversial positions back Bitcoin, because it then gives the people in the opposite thing more ammo to just moan about Bitcoin, basically. Oh, Ron DeSantis likes it, then it must be for murders and stuff like that. Or if so-and-so Biden likes it, then it must be for, it would be the same thing, right? It would be if Biden said, I'm all for Bitcoin, this is, it's really good, the Republicans will be going rah, 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 with pitchforks going, Bitcoin's the doom of the earth. And you may even see a crazy environmental flip, like the Republicans then going, hey, we've got to stop this Bitcoin mining because it's killing the earth. And then, all sorts, it's raining cats and dogs and Ghostbusters and all that. I still can't remember that phrase, but
cats and dogs living together, mass hysteria.
That's it. Mass hysteria. And we are edging towards that. It's crazy. And then forget about that. So just to digress really quickly, the thing that shocked me today that I read, slightly off topic, but still, again, the craziness of the times we're in, that the US Air Force was testing simulations of autonomous drones who killed the operator because the operator stood in its way. And so, we've just got all sorts of craziness coming. It's going to be a wild ride. The 2020s are going to be a very wild ride, that's for sure. With Bitcoin, with all these new innovations that are upending the traditional world. So hold on tight.
See, now I'd agree there's a war, and I've always seen politics as a part of Bitcoin. I've never seen this as just an investment. I think a lot of people saw this as it's just an investment, but really the politics has been there, built into the system the whole time. And I think the important part to know about this war is that Bitcoin and crypto are going to win. They're going to win rather easily. And that's when you have someone who doesn't know anything like DeSantis getting out there and saying, oh, henny penny, the sky is falling, like dump all your cryptos. And I don't think that's a good idea. I don't think that's a smart idea. But at the same time, I do think we're living in kind of a golden age where you can link your bank account to your crypto and you can buy crypto and sell it with your bank account. And that might not always be the way. And if that goes away, the price will have problems as well. And everyone will say Bitcoin's dead and crypto's dead. And then it'll just survive. It'll just keep being used. We'll do the whack-a-mole country thing. Like, this has always been kind of foreordained, right? Preordained, like it's going to happen. But at the same time, like, I'm not offended by this happening. I feel like it's a natural thing. Like, the weather has to happen. Like, there has to be a reaction to an invention as large as Bitcoin entering to the arena. And it's going to take political readjustment, like Dan is saying, reassignment. Like, are we for the environment? Are we for the Bitcoin? Are we this and that? Adam McBride, what do you think about Biden versus DeSantis, left versus right, and cryptocurrency stuck right in the middle?
Well, I think you're right. I do think there's a war going on, and a war against crypto. And I'm of the belief that they're coming for the self-custody wallets. I mean, I think that would be the end game on, call it one side, whatever side that may be. And it may be both sides. The reality is that both sides that are in power may not want crypto to rise. And DeSantis or Trump or whoever might be pro Bitcoin just to get those donations. But at the end of the day, if the US banned self-custody wallets tomorrow and made it illegal for the US citizenry to own self-custody wallets with fear of jail time, boy, crypto would be in trouble. I'd probably have to give up my US citizenship and it would be all hell, right? That's not to say crypto wouldn't survive, because I believe free people will survive in this world. But boy, it would be a sad, sad day for freedom. And it's on the table. It's definitely not off the table. And I think, over the next few years, this is, the battle lines have been drawn. We've seen it. COVID kind of woke a good portion of us up to what's happening in this world. And I think, free people all over the world are going to have to make choices here. And are you on the good guys or are you on the bad guys?
It is possible they could come. They came for the gold wallets in 1933, the gold seizure under FDR. But once again, I think with the digital item, it's just going to be so much more difficult. I think with a physical item like gold, with its weight, with the way it takes up space, the more gold you have, the more space it takes up. Both sides, both political parties, the entire world against Bitcoin, against us. I like those odds. Once again, I think we're going to win easily. We've already, defeated the music industry. We've defeated the movie industry. Why can't we defeat the banking industry as well? Telephones, telecommunications, so many industries lying.
Did you see the news article just the last couple of days about certain countries in the EU forced Binance to basically delist, privacy coins, right? You guys maybe saw that come across your feed. This is kind of what's the road they're going for, right? It's, privacy coins are, they're for illegal activities and all so on and so forth. So it's all of this kind of like myth that they're creating around, tax evasion, drugs and weapons, right? And, privacy coins first, and then it's Bitcoin, right? It's just like, it's this slippery slope. They're trying to create a narrative. And I think, frankly, it's up to us as people who believe in crypto and believe in freedom to come up with better narratives. And I think Bitcoin was smart to do this one of like, oh, mining actually encourages, innovation in the green space and all that sort of stuff. That's the kind of narratives we need to fight the battle of the minds.
Josh Shigala, what do you think about the future of Bitcoin?
I mean, first of all, DeSantis is far from a fascist. Let's say that quickly. If you look through history, you see what a real fascist is. Something else. But look, first of all, Forbes, this article is ridiculous. It says down the bottom that Bitcoin and Ethereum lost $2 trillion. What? It's not it. Huh? Their numbers are all out. Like, they need to do a little bit of their own fact checking. They're so into fact checking. They should fact check themselves a little bit on that one. But yeah, it's there's always a war. This is why Satoshi was anonymous, stayed anonymous. It's always a war. It's never not going to be a war. They can't ban it because AI can't do KYC. It needs crypto if it wants to join the economy. AI will use cryptocurrency. And so really, at the end of the day, it's a losing battle for the people that want to stop this. So it's not really, so I don't worry about it at all. I just think it's more politics, playing around with nonsense, trying to get political score and more donations or whatever. Yeah, I mean, as a, you know, as a libertarian, like sort of anarcho-capitalist type, I don't really have that much interest in what politicians have to say. All I say is let's keep building cool software and allow people to download it and use it. And not even allow people, it's just people will find it and use it. It's not about allowing anything. So yeah, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens with this. You know, America can go around the world starting wars in the name of freedom, and then go around banning or have this Operation Choke Point 2.0. I mean, it just sounds ridiculous. A country that that waves its flag under the notion of freedom and then bans something so freedom loving. It just doesn't make any sense. So yeah, that's all I have to say about that.
I do think we need to rise above the left and the right. I think there's reasons for both of them to hate crypto and reasons for both of them to like crypto. And
Yeah.
we're going to probably see that in the future. As Josh was saying, when the founder of Bitcoin is in hiding because he doesn't want to become the next Prometheus chained to a rock with a bird eating out his liver every single day, it's hilarious that people think this is just an investment, not a war, that you can separate politics from this, that you can separate all the ways that Bitcoin was set up as an economic system, even the halvening system, which is going to be coming up in the news pretty soon, I'm sure. Again, a political choice, an incredibly political choice to have the early investors rewarded, the later investors not rewarded.
And on a 4-year kind of time schedule, which is a similar thing as the American elections.
It's very interesting choices when set up Bitcoin. Let's move on to the exit question. Will Bitcoin be a major issue in the US presidential election? And how will it be framed? Will it be the classic Silk Road framing? Will it be innovation, environmental destruction, only criminals, drug dealers? Dan, Eve, is the US going to be interested in Bitcoin in the presidential run?
I think that may be decided more so when because Biden hasn't really spoken a huge amount about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, and if it really,
he's mumbled a bit about it though.
So it kind of depends, I think, by the sounds of it, if Trump is still around and there's a DeSantis, if DeSantis ends up being the Republican primary, I'm not going to profess to know much about it, but if DeSantis ends up being that guy that goes head to head with Biden, then I think we're going to see a massive a clash of the titans when it comes to arguing about Bitcoin, and that's when we'll really see the political polarization from that side. But if it's Trump, they're gonna have way more things to argue about those two guys there with Biden and Trump. It will continue to be politicized. I think there's absolutely no doubt there, especially as the more controversial figures, based depending on whatever side you're on, the more the controversial figures, or the more I suppose controversial for one side, and the more on a pedestal for the other side, right? There's the more you have of those conflicts, discussing Bitcoin, the more we'll see the polarization and the more politicized it will be. But yeah, I can't see it happening too much if it's Trump and Biden. I just think if it's Biden DeSantis, then we're already seeing the start of that epic war of political polarization.
I agree, Dan. It's really tough for the Trump team to bring up any new issues. It mainly seems to be grievances and court cases. If it was DeSantis, it might be different. Be strange as well, though. Adam McBride, what do you think? Will it be a major issue in the presidential campaign?
I wish it was, but the odds are no. most Americans don't care about Bitcoin. Most Americans have no idea what a decentralized ledger is. They have no idea what it is. Like zero. They don't get the idea of a public blockchain. What's the difference between a public blockchain and a private blockchain? They don't know. Like Bitcoin 101 needs to happen anew, is what I've learned when we had this ordinals kind of thing kind of happen on Bitcoin over the last, 3 months, 4 months. Like there needs to be a new wave of Bitcoiners to explain what the hell Bitcoin is to Americans and to the world again. Like we're back at stage one. That's where I look at it, where we need new people to tell new stories. Like it can't be Antonopoulos telling, his geeky version of Bitcoin. It needs to be TikTokers who say why, decentralized money is a good thing and telling these stories. Like we need new voices to convince new people why Bitcoin's important. And so do I think a bunch of 80-year-olds are going to tell about that? No, so it's time for a change. We need new Bitcoiners in here to tell the Bitcoin story fresh.
It would be nice to know their opinions on end-to-end encryption, though. I'm sure that we'll see that in the debates. Josh Agala, what do you think? Bitcoin a major issue in the campaign, or maybe next time?
I think to what Adam was saying, I think it's more that we need a cataclysmic event for a new American century. No, it's really it's actually that I think it's more about that though. There does need to be a huge banking crisis for the mainstream to understand why Satoshi created the thing that he created, or she, or whatever. You can't have TikTok saying oh blah 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 blah, because all you get is the speculators who are like, oh, I can make some money from this, or maybe the art collectors. But even the art collectors are like, oh, I can make some money. Like it's really for the fundamentals, the fundamental value proposition to be understood. There has to be an in your fucking face cataclysmic event to say, look, man, there's the exit door.
Fuck, you're probably right, man. Yeah, you're probably. I don't disagree with you, man. I don't disagree.
Sadly. But yeah, I don't know what was that the question?
But maybe we can get some people out of the exit door before the building's on fire. Maybe.
Well, that's the hope. That's the hope, right? And that's why I keep saying to the gold bugs out there and the Bitcoiners, stop fighting. It's not about gold versus Bitcoin. That's the most ridiculous, divisive, divide and conquer strategy crap that I've ever seen. It's Bitcoin, gold versus fiat and versus this nonsense, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. Who cares if someone buys some gold over Bitcoin? At least their shit is out of the banking system. That's all that matters, because it's going down, folks. It's either going down with massive inflation, or it's going down with massive destruction of the economy, where everyone loses their business because they can't afford to pay off the debts because they've raised the interest rates so high. So it's one or the other. Both equal a failing collapse, and maybe they can kick the can down the road, but kicking the can just makes the cataclysm even bigger. So get some of your savings. Only keep in them as much in the bank as you're willing to lose.
Yeah, with Josh there, I think it's been what 50. It's been lots of time now, right? Since the 2007-2008 crisis, right? We seem to be very overdue. One, we've had obviously a few banks fail this year from the US, but it's going to take something big to really for Bitcoin to really resonate with the rest of the world again, because obviously it was born after the financial crisis. So Bitcoin hasn't gone through one yet. I mean, it's sort of gone through insane inflation with the money printing exercise that just has been incredible. But I actually also agree with Glenn in the chat that he's saying, I think people in the West particularly do not understand cryptos. Their currencies are relatively stable, and that's a very good point. That where we've experienced inflation, and that was a bit of a catalyst for Bitcoin's meteoric rise during sort of 2021, 22. But what we haven't seen yet is hyperinflation, and countries that have experienced that seem to be way more not susceptible, open to actually looking at Bitcoin as a serious source of serious form of money. And then and the other thing,
and that's where you see the banning. That's where you see the banning happening too.
Yep, you're right.
Yeah, and we haven't seen more. There's been is there one other country that said Bitcoin is legal tender other than El Salvador? But we kind of thought there would be a cascade, right? But it's a slow one. It's becoming slow right now. But the more the dollar affects these countries that aren't able to print the dollar because it's been printed on by the US and they don't have they use the US dollar but don't have any control over it. I think that's also where people are a lot more receptive to Bitcoin. Yeah, so I think banking crisis, more inflation and stable currencies becoming unstable will really be the catalyst for is it hyper Bitcoinization? Is that what they say? Is that what the hip cats call it, right?
I think one of the reasons we haven't seen a cascade of other countries joining is because of bad timing. El Salvador bought the top, and just like we were saying at the beginning of the show with Adam's friends and all of our people, we're going to load up at 20K. These countries aren't going to buy until they see El Salvador successful, and by that time, it'll be too late, right? The cycle will have shifted, of course. But
especially when the World Bank taps you on the shoulder and goes, "Are you sure you want to do that?" With a little bit of a threat in the background.
I'm sure you guys talked about it in a couple of weeks ago, where the World Bank, forced, I can't remember the country now, it's lost on me, but forced them to basically ban crypto in order to receive World Bank money. I mean, it's just clear what's happening.
Absolutely.
Well, we're running out of time, so we're going to move on to prediction or story of the week. Dan, Eve, do you have a prediction or a story of the week? You get to go first.
Okay. So story of the week. So I think I can't remember exactly, Tom, exactly the chain of events as it were. But I think unfortunately my uncle passed away, and I think yesterday, and he was the guy whose yacht we went on that may have inspired Yacht Chain, and when we were in the Malta conference. So it was sad times, but made me think about how funny that was, that trip out there and interviewing all these people, and they're selling all their crazy ass ideas about raisins on the blockchain and all sorts of crap like that. And we were, every time they would try and pitch us their crappy idea, we would pitch them Yacht Chain and leave them absolutely baffled. But they realized they had to respect our idea because it made them realize how crazy their idea was. So RIP Uncle, and thanks for Raymond. Thanks for helping us deliver Yacht Chain to the world.
Well, sometimes they would take us seriously, and they'd be like, "Yeah, Yacht Chain seems like a good service. We really should keep all the yachts on a blockchain and keep them connected." And then one of the other great things, Dan, we did that little like lifestyles of the rich and famous in Malta video, and all the sailboat footage and all the boat footage for that. We actually shot that. Like I actually, held up the camera or the phone or whatever it was. And thanks to your uncle, we were able to go out on the boat and shoot that footage. So it was really neat. Rest in peace, Uncle Raymond. And it was good times out in Malta. Adam McBride, do you have a prediction or a story of the week? Go ahead.
Good news for Bitcoin. I think it's going to be a ordinal summer on Bitcoin. I've never seen since 2016, I've been in crypto. I've never seen a movement as large as this with development and things happening. Even, NFT summer of 21, people were releasing NFT projects, but like building stuff, building infrastructure, wallets, marketplaces, the rest of it. I've never seen anything like it since 2016. The only thing that was comparable was like around CryptoKitties and the movement of developers after kind of CryptoKitties popped and people were like, "Oh my God, I can make money on Ethereum." This is something special. I think all Bitcoiners should be pretty excited about what's happening on Bitcoin right now.
Well, we have reached the point where people that you think should get it have started emailing me saying, "What do you think about ordinals?" And I'm like, oh, for at this point already, you should have got him 6 months ago. Like 6 months ago, yeah, I had thoughts about him, but now it's like a crazy movement. I have no, it's on its own. It's doing its own thing. It doesn't matter what I think about it. Like it's its own thing. So it is interesting to see how that will turn out. And again, I like the idea of the miners making money for the block space. If in a general way, if you want to pay for the block space and that's the price of the block space, then you should pay for it. I mean,
look, we thought we had 100 years to figure it out, right? And this is something, that this kind of best first use to pay miners in an interesting way, I think is great. And there was an initial kind of push of resistance, for that first month or so with the old school maxi devs who were like, no, no, no. And they quickly lost. Like it was decided like within a month. And I think that's
Junior still wants to make smaller blocks.
And he's gone though. He's off of Twitter. Elon took him down. He's a voiceless, he's nothing anymore, And so yeah, and I know Luke, but they were overrun. And I think I'm very bullish that we've kind of moved into a new era of Bitcoin here. We're calling it Bitcoin Season 2, and excited to be a part of the brand new Bitcoin.
Awesome.
And of course, it all started with curio cards and our idea to put JPEGs on the blockchain. Yes, that's the story that saved Bitcoin. It wasn't Vitalik and Ethereum or Coinbase or any of the big.
Bro, who would have thought JPEGs saved Bitcoin? Man? Is there anything NFTs can't do? Is there anything they can't do, my friend?
Beautiful. It's a beautiful romantic story. I can't wait to see how it turns out. Josh Shigala, do you have a prediction or a story of the week? Go ahead.
Yeah, well, actually, I mean, we're doing a bit of pioneering in the NFT space ourselves. With the standard, you'll be able to sell your debt and your collateral in a dynamic NFT that will actually show in the SVG how much collateral you've got in your smart vault and how much debt you've taken out. And if you can't afford to pay that debt, even though it's 0% interest, so you need some liquidity, you can actually put it up for sale as an NFT, and whoever buys that NFT then has access to your smart vault and can pay it off the debt or take out the collateral. So, and we're launching in June. Finally, it's been a year and maybe two that we've been working on this. So, and there's a lot more to it. Yeah, we're thinking about Arbitrum. We're thinking about ZK rollups. Folks, please give us your thoughts over at the standard.io. Join the Discord. Give us your thoughts, what you think of Arbitrum, because we're really seriously discussing that now, rather than launching directly on ZK EVM. I love the zero knowledge proof stuff. I think it's actually the end game. It's the true roll up to roll them all up. But in the meantime, the optimistic rollups are still pretty cool, and all the DeFi stuff is happening there. I wish it was happening on a Bitcoin sidechain or something, but it's not. It's happening over there, so that's where we're thinking about launching. And but yeah, some really cool stuff happening this month at the Standard. I'm just super excited, super excited about what's happening. So yeah, come and join the chat and tell us what you think. Thank you. Thanks.
Yeah, congrats.
And hey, Dan, sorry about your uncle, man. Yeah.
No, it's all good. It's cool. Good. He was an absolute legend. Lovely guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds.
And my story of the week is that I finally saw the Super Mario Brothers movie, and it was much better than the 1993 movie, which I watched immediately before it. So I'd have both of them in my mind and I could compare them. Of course, I've also seen the Mario Brothers Super Show that used to be on afternoon television. This does mean there's going to be a plague of video game movies coming in. Metroid, Paperboy, Dig Dug, Donkey Kong 1 through 4, Solid Snake, and even Tetris. Wow. Oh, wait a minute. Tetris is already a movie on Apple Plus, and I saw that too. It's great. Tells the story of getting Tetris out of Soviet Russia. It's fascinating, and you got to check it out. I also watched a great documentary about Liechtenstein. It really seemed like he stole all that comic book artwork. So you guys got to check that out. I got a poll on Mad Bitcoin's Twitter if you want to vote on Liechtenstein, great artist or thief. So
yeah. And if you love the show, give us a thumbs up.
That's right. Give us a thumbs up below, add a comment if you're out watching later. Hello to the chat. And until next time, bye.